Hello, Kat here. In today's video, we're going to assemble this Cricut pop-up floral card. It's in Design Space and it's a little tricky to put together, but amazing results, and it would be absolutely perfect for Valentine's Day. Cut all the pieces you're going to need using your Cricut machine, and then we are ready to begin. These two white pieces are the insides of the card, and you can see they've got slits on them, and that's for the pop-up part in the middle. And this is the outside of the card. As you can see, it's been scored down the center, and I believe it was the double scoring wheel I used for this, but you can also switch that out with the scoring stylus or the single scoring wheel if you have that, as long as you tell the machine that you're switching it out before you actually do the cut. So as the piece that goes inside is white, you will actually see that through the front of the card on here, and that's perfectly fine. Actually, in Design Space, this card is in purples, and I've switched out the colors. Now this piece, I did an offset of the design on the front using the offset feature, and actually created an outline so that I can put red behind the rose on the front of my card. Now this is completely your choice. I have shared the project in Design Space in the community, so if you want to do my version you can with those colors, or you can switch it out yourself in your own DS as you go. But I have made this card in a variety of colors. It's lovely in the purple, but I thought for Valentine's Day it would just be really pretty in the red and black. Now I am gluing behind here every tiny little bit. It's precision gluing and it can take a while. So if you actually look, you'll see that the rose petals above what I'm doing are cut out of vinyl. And this is to save time. It's one of my top Cricut hacks. I actually use vinyl a lot on my cards because it saves a lot of gluing time. You don't have to glue when it's really tiny and fiddly. It's actually just easier to pick it up with a vinyl and transfer tape and stick it onto the card yourself. Now you do have to be careful that you don't pull up the card in the process, so using a not so sticky transfer sheet, painter's tape works. I use contact paper, and that tends to stick the vinyl but not actually pull up any of the card. So there we go. See, I have a red rose there. Again, that's personal choice. You could just stick with the white if you wanted to on that. Here's the front bit of the bouquet. There are 5 score lines, so fold those down the lines nice and straight. You will get a better line, a cleaner line, if you do this on a flat surface and not like I'm doing mid-air, but I'm holding it a little closer to the camera for you so that you can see what I'm doing. And you can also use your scraper tool to define those lines as well. If you stick around to the end of the video, I have a really great envelope making tip for you to make sure that you get your tape and your glue in the right spot every single time when you're making your own envelopes. So there we go. All along the crease lines. There are 2 tabs on the side of this as well, and those tabs are going to tuck into the inside part of the card for the pop-up. These are the front details of that bouquet wrapping, and you can cut them out of cardstock and glue. If you have a precision point glue, then that works fine, but I don't have that much patience, so again I cut these ones out of vinyl so that I can stick them on relatively quickly. And again, using my contact paper, it's going to pick it up, stick it down, and I'm not going to have to worry about pulling up some of that layers of cardstock. The quality of the cardstock that you use also makes a difference when you're cutting on a Cricut machine. If you're using cheap cardstock, and that's not to say the price necessarily, but you want a good quality cardstock. I use Recollections a lot of the time, 65-pound cardstock for the majority of my card projects, and it works really, really well. In some pop-up cards, you want the mechanism itself to be really strong, so you can go with a slightly thicker cardstock for the base, for example, for the base of the birthday card pop-up and things like that. The Christmas tree one needs a stronger base, because it's going to last a lot longer if it's got a sturdy card base. If you wanted to, you could also change this in Design Space for the Cricut to draw these details on the front of this card. I don't actually have any Design Space tutorials, but if you wanted one, let me know in the comments and I can do a Design Space tutorial for you on how to change things from draw to cut and then move it around for different mats and things as well. Once that's done, put your transfer tape back on the backing. You can reuse transfer tape over and over again and save yourself a lot of money doing that. Don't throw it away after you've used it once. And that's the outside bit complete. When sticking the petals on, you want to make sure that you pair them up with the green bit that they're going to go on before you start sticking them down, because I didn't notice the first time I did this, but some of the petals are exactly the same and others are slightly different in their shape. So make sure they correspond with the green bit that you're going to stick them onto, and that way you'll have nice clean lines and a neat finish. And this process does take a little while, so if you know which bits are going where, then just skip ahead to the next section where we're going to assemble the bouquet itself. Now we're going to put the flowers together, so lay them out like I have here, and then this shows you the first two, the second two, and then the last two that you're going to use in that order. So the two biggest pieces, you're going to slide one down onto the other in the first two slots there. So the front slot there, and the front slot, the one on my right as well. Just all the way down, like that. Next, pick up the second one in your left hand, and that's going to go up instead of down. So slide the piece that you have in your right hand down on top of that piece. and that just goes through, so it's behind that first part there. Same on the right side, picking up the next piece and sliding it from the bottom up. So holding the piece you've completed in your left hand and the new piece in the right hand, and slide it into that first slit behind the first layer, like so. This is what it should look like from the top, like completely crossing like that, but not totally connected yet. The last two pieces are really going to tie it all together, but this is what it should look like so far. The next piece is going to go behind the last piece you put on the left side, and that's got two slits on the bottom, and it's going to slide down onto the structure that you've already got in your right hand and connect it all together. So two slits, slide them down onto the two slits that are coming up. You're going to repeat this with the right side. Again, it has two slits, and it's going to go behind the last piece you put on the right side at the back and slide onto those slits. You can see it a little closely in this video here, sliding those slits into place. This is really the most fiddly part of the whole thing. You don't want to tip it upside down because bits will fall apart. So just sideways on, slide it in there, and that's how it connects. If you've done it correctly, it should open and close like this. Where I'm holding it is actually the tabs, so fold those over, making sure to get a nice crease line on there. These are going to slide through the white bits on the inserts of the card in order to activate the pop-up. The two tabs we just folded are going to slide through the center slits on the card. So the ones closest to where the center of the card will be, just slide one side through, pull it through, make sure it's nice and even, and glue it into place. Now you can tape this because it's underneath, you're not going to see it if you've got a strong tape that you wanted to use instead, but if you are doing that, make sure you don't tape over the other slit, because the front of the card, the front of the bouquet, the wrapping part, is going to go through that front slit, and if you've glued over it or taped over it, then you won't be able to get that part of the card in, which is why I'm folding the tab this way and not the other way, because it would be blocking that slit. I'm then going to repeat this on the other side with the other tab going through the center slit in the white piece there. I did notice that the tabs kind of overlap the center of the white cardstock a little bit. You can see here, so I'm just going to snip that bit so it's flush with the edge. If you folded the tabs the other way, then it wouldn't show, but like I said, it would block the other slit. So I just snip that off there, and then that's nice and tidy, and none of the green bits will show. For the front piece, the wrapping, there are two tabs, and I've currently got them folded in a mountain fold, so reverse those and put them in a valley fold, because it's going to make the tabs easier to poke through those slits. So the front two slits that have nothing in them, that's where you're going to go with these ones. Do one side and then the other. You can glue one and then glue the other, or slide them both in and then glue them down. I actually slide them both in first because I want to check that I have them in the right spot and the mechanism works before I actually glue them into place. And it's another good reason for using glue rather than tape, because it gives you a little bit of time to move things around if after you've glued it into place it needs to be adjusted very, very slightly for the pop-up to lay flat when it's closed or to sit in the right position when you open the card. So take your time with it. It's all a learning curve, and it does get easier. The more you make these types of cards, the easier it is to put them together. Attaching the centre to the outside of the card is actually quite simple. I use a combination of my tape gun and glue, purely because the rose cut out at the bottom, I like to attach it a little more with some glue on the tiny intricate parts of it. So I've just dabbed a little glue in some places so that it doesn't lift off really. If you didn't add the coloured piece to the back of your rose, like I did, then you want to be careful when you are sticking your white pieces of cardstock down. The very first time I made this card, I didn't have that piece. I randomly put tape all over the inside of this white piece and stuck it on, and then the cutout at the front, you could see the tape coming through. So just be careful when you're doing that, if you don't have the backing on your rose, that you're putting the glue and the tape where it cannot be seen through the front of the card. The back is obviously easier to do because there's no cutout, but it's just paying attention when you're sticking it together. And also make sure that the card is the right way up. Sometimes it's easy to get muddled up and stick the card on upside down, and your bouquet of flowers would be the wrong way up, or your rose would be on the back of the card. So the final part is this bow, just before we get to the envelope hack I have for you. This is just the icing on the cake. I cut this out of red, but I could have cut this out of black or glitter cardstock. There's just 2 score lines on each of these parts of the bow, and that's so it corresponds with the fold of the card. It goes across the front of the wrapping on the bouquet, and you glue down the ends, and getting them folds in the right place is important, which is why I had the machine score the lines for me, and that way when I close the card and open the card it should fold in the right spot. When both sides are folded, then it's time to glue them down. Just check the positioning, know where you want to put them before you glue them down, and then I find it's easiest to glue on the front of the bouquet first, and then we're going to glue down the tabs afterwards onto the card, just double checking that it's in the right spot again, because with pop-ups they can be tricky, and if you glue things wrong it can stop the mechanism from working. So checking the folds are in the right place, that glue's on there. Try and be more patient than I am and wait for the glue to dry before moving things around, and then glue the tabs on to the white card as well. The final part of the inside of this card is the bow. It has a score line down the center, so fold it in half, add some glue, and then pop it in the middle of that bow there on the front. Once dry, fold it flat, it's all done. So here is the envelope. Now my sneaky trick to doing the perfect envelope is I love to use patterned paper or patterned cardstock, which makes the inside of the envelope look really, really elegant, and the outside is still white, so you can still address it if you're mailing it. The trick though to getting the tape or glue in exactly the right spot every time is to use a scoring stylus. So once you've folded it, trace the line on the edges with your scoring stylus, and that will actually show up as score lines when you open it up. You can then put your tape or glue in behind that line, and then you know you have it in exactly the right position each time, and you're not going to have glue or tape sticking out, overlapping and making it a really untidy envelope. It will be nice and neat every single time. If you enjoyed today's card, then do check out my other Valentine videos for fun ideas for this Valentine's Day. I love this card. It's great for any occasion and it's absolutely beautiful in any colour. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe if you're looking for more videos. We've got lots of things coming soon, including a live. I will see you next time.